The options for America's power in this new realignment of the world are not as clear as they might be. And the single most important place where that's evident is in the Middle East and in the fight against ISIS. What can America do that is useful in the fight against ISIS? There is a lot of pressure building in Washington at the moment to put more troops, more American troops into Iraq to try and combat the threat of Islamic extremism. I was talking to somebody at the Pentagon just recently who said, listen, we could put 20,000 American forces in and we could take back Mosul tomorrow. But we've already been in Iraq since the invasion in 2003. Are we looking at another decade? Yeah, sure, we can take back Mosul. No problem. But to keep it, we have to stay there. And in the end, this has to be a regional issue. There has to be a regional solution, just as there has to be a European solution to what is happening in Ukraine. We need American leadership to facilitate the negotiations, but we have to have a kind of American engagement that is not necessarily boots on the ground in either of those two particular instances. So I think that it's a fascinating time for America at the moment, where we need the kind of leadership that we need the kind of leadership that forces the Europeans to impose sanctions on Russia. We need the kind of leadership that brings Iran to the negotiating table. We need the kind of leadership that pushes the Iraqis and the Turks and the Saudis to deal with what is basically an Arab problem, a Muslim problem in that part of the world. And they are terrified of what is happening in that part of the world. You look at the Shia arc of Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and the rise of the Houthi Shia rebels down there. And of course there is a lot of nervousness down there in that part of the world, but I don't think that it is necessarily the most useful thing for American national security to have a big invasion again as we've seen in the past. And I don't think there is an appetite here. But what we don't want is for the American public then to say, okay, we're so dissatisfied with the kind of role we've had in the past that we're going to really row back and really retrench. I just don't think that's an option. What happened on 9/11? We woke up to the ugly realization that the world can come to you, even when you are least expecting it. And America has to be engaged in the world. We are all better off when America is strong and engaged. And I think the world realizes that. Of course, every now and again, we have kind of schadenfreude about what is happening in this. It's a bit like our big brother. I remember during the 2008 election campaign, and my editors are fascinated by American politics, and John McCain nominated Sarah Palin as his running mate. And my editors called up and they couldn't get enough of this story. And it was a little bit like when your big brother brings home a fantastically unsuitable date. And you're sort of, titillated, but also terrified about what might happen if all of this goes wrong. And that is kind of our relationship with you. I mean, we have this wonderful big brother relationship with you where sometimes you do things that we think, my God, really? Sarah Palin, Donald Trump? Wow. You couldn't make this stuff up, right? And then it costs you $2 billion to boot for one of your elections. But in all seriousness, beyond that kind of Donald Trump, Sarah Palin attitude, there is an absolute desire to have America involved. And you can name any part of the world we're better off if America is engaged there. I was recently in Vietnam and Singapore. I went a couple of weeks ago to interview the Defense Secretary, Ash Carter, whose office is 5 minutes from my front door. But anyway, I had to go to Vietnam to go and interview him. And he was there basically on a mission to reassure Asian countries that America is still committed to Asia, has not got sucked into the endless morass of the Middle East, and is there to be a bulwark against Chinese expansionism. And there was little doubt that that was what he was trying to do. But when I pushed him on how is he going to do this, what will America do if China carries on building islands out of the reefs of the Spratly Islands, the answer is negotiate. And we are living in this strange world where America still has the biggest military in the world. It has a very big stick, but it's reluctant to use it. And in some ways, I think that's probably the best form of leadership. Reluctance to use the big stick and more soft power diplomacy. Because I think that is the kind of world, the complex kind of world that we are living in, and I think that that is probably the most suitable type of outcome for all of these different complex problems.